Additions, deletions, or amendments. I believe there's an addition for senior of the year.
Correct.
Okay. So it's moved by Councillor Malashewski, seconded by Councillor Moore, resolved that the Monday, June the 20th, 22nd agenda be approved with the addition of senior of the year. All those in favor?
Fair. We could add that under agenda item 6C.
6C. Okay.
We'll deal with it there.
Okay. Okay, disclosure of interest.
Disclosure, item 6B, letter from Community Church.
Okay, Councillor Moore has declared a conflict on that one. Adoption of minutes. So minutes from the regular council meeting held Monday, June 6, 2022. Resolved that the minutes of the regular council, moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Malashewski. Resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held Monday, June 6, 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none. All those in favor? All right. Moved by Councillor Malashewski, seconded by Councillor Moore. Resolved that the minutes of the special council meeting held Wednesday, June 15th, 2022 be approved as amended. Is there any error or omission?
There's one error on the first resolution of that meeting. It was noted that it was 2020, not 2021.
Okay,
So that's already been fixed.
it's been fixed. Everything's good then?
Yeah, we'd already published the minutes with the error in them. So
Okay. All those in favor? Okay, reports from administration, CEO clerk.
thank you, Mr. Chair. This report is with respect to the restricted active council during the lame duck period and requesting a delegation of authority bylaw be passed. Restricted act after nomination day and are covered under section 275 of the Municipal Act, commonly referred to as the lame duck. Apply to municipal council that is determined that there is a potential or certainty that less than 3/4 of 75% of the existing council members will not be returning to office. Terrace Bay is a 5-member council, and when 75% calculation is applied, the result is 3.75. Thus, 3 members would be less, and 4 members would be more. The determination of whether municipal council is a lame duck position pursuant to section 275 of the Act occurs twice during the 2022 election period. So between August 19th and October 24th, the determination shall be based on the 2022 nominations that have been certified by the municipal clerk after August 19th. If less than 75% of the existing members are not running for municipal council, the restrictions set out in the Municipal Act will apply. And again, following the election, October 24th to November 15th, following a declaration of election result by the clerk, if the elections result in less than 75% of the incumbent members of council returning to council, those same restrictions will apply. So in our current discussion, it's important to note that although this report is written from the perspective that the status of council being lame duck is currently unknown, prior information has been made public that 2 current members are not seeking re-election, therefore putting us into a lame duck position. This is done as regardless of the public information in question, the possibility still exists until the close of nominations that all current council has a chance to return. This potential for a long lame duck period highlights the importance and necessity of preparing a bylaw delegating certain powers to the CEO clerk pursuant to section 275(6) of the Municipal Act. So the restrictions: if council is in a lame duck position, council shall not take any of the following actions: the appointment or removal from office of any officer of the municipality, the hiring or dismissal of any employee of the municipality, the disposition of any real or personal property of the municipality which is of value exceeding $50,000 at the time of disposal, and making any expenditures or incurring any other liability which exceeds $50,000. So exceptions: clauses C and D do not apply if the disposition or liability was included in the most recent budget adopted by council before nomination. With respect to real property, a municipality could close a real estate transaction during the lame duck period only if council passed a bylaw approving the execution of the agreement of purchase and sale or sale in advance of the lame duck period. Expenditures: a contract could be awarded by a lame duck council which is in excess of $50,000 so long as the amount was included in the approved 2022 budget. However, a lame duck council is not able to award a contract if the amount of tenders or bids exceeds the amount included in the budget. The act provides section 275.4.1 that nothing in this section prevents the municipality from taking any action in the event of an emergency. Delegation of authority. 275.6 provides the delegation of authority of a municipality to a person or body, staff, provided the delegation is done prior to nomination day. It is therefore recommended that a bylaw be prepared prior to nomination day, delegating financial and staffing authority to the CAO clerk from August 19, 2022 to November 15, 2022, summarized as follows. That the chief administrative officer clerk be delegated the authority to be the final financial signing authority for expenditures outside the current budget exceeding 50,000. Dispose of any real or personal property of the municipality which is a value exceeding 50,000 when it was acquired by the municipality. Be the authority to hire or remove any officer to or from employment with the township of Terrace Bay. Be the authority to hire or dismiss any employee of the municipality. That the CAO clerk will report to council as soon as possible on any actions taken under the restrictions listed in section 275.3 of the Act between nomination day and commencement of the new council term, November 15th. The bylaw will only take effect and be limited to the lame duck period of council and shall expire on Monday, actually I should say November 15th, 2022. There's an error there, sorry. And the bylaw is correct. Termination of the lame duck provision. The CAO clerk will advise council at the first meeting in September after nomination day as to whether council is lame duck position. So there's another report coming forward. At the first regular council meeting following the election, so October 31st, 2022 would be our first scheduled meeting. The CAO clerk will report the election results to determine if council is in lame duck position following the election. At the November 15th, 2022 inaugural meeting, or whichever date happens thereafter, the bylaw delegating the authority to the CAO clerk would expire as a newly elected council will be sworn into the township of Terrace Bay. Financial implications none at present, as this bylaw will only come into effect if lame duck situation occurs within one of the two periods described above. So option A, that council accept the report and approve the adoption of a bylaw to authorize delegated authority during the lame duck period of council during the 2022 municipal election, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Option B, that council does not approve the delegation of authority during the lame duck period and bylaw as presented, and direct administration to bring forward amendments as appropriate to the next regular meeting. Option C is that council does not approve the delegation of authority during the lame duck bylaw and direct administration otherwise. Administration is recommending option A.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? No. All be written. Good. Okay. Moved by Councilor Moore, seconded by Councilor Malashewski. Resolve that council accept the report and approve the adoption of a bylaw to authorize delegated authority during the lame duck period of council during the 2022 municipal election, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, next.
Mr. Chair, procedure bylaw amendments. The current procedure bylaw 29/2021 was discussed and adopted during the summer of 2021. This update came after a long discussion and largely in response to legislative changes and the need for virtual requirements in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. At the April 4th meeting this year and previous meetings, the topics of Indigenous land acknowledgement and streaming were discussed. From the April 4th meeting minutes, it was discussed that we would entertain including an Indigenous land acknowledgement statement at the beginning of each meeting, and also that we were in favor of streaming continuing. So those required changes to procedural bylaw, which is why we're here tonight for this report. So with respect to the Indigenous land acknowledgement, to date, the consultation facilitated by the libraries on behalf of the townships described above has not yielded any official response from our Indigenous neighbors. By no means should this communication be considered official consultation, as that would be presumptuous. But a reasonable amount of time has passed, and council had previously discussed the statement or declaration of Indigenous acknowledgement below. Statement is as follows. The Council of the Township of Terrace Bay hereby acknowledges that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Métis. Amendments to bylaw 29/2021 to facilitate this change, would be to include the addition of Indigenous acknowledgement to Article 2 interpretation, or the definition section of the bylaw, and in addition to Article 9 order of business agenda after the call to order of declarations. So live streaming of council meetings. With respect to streaming, council expressed a desire to continue to stream regular meetings to the public, even as many restrictions of the pandemic are lifted and organizations recover. Traditionally, Terrace Bay did not stream meetings, but the onset of the pandemic and requirement for virtual meetings required previous changes to the procedural bylaw, that was bylaw 13/2020, and quick adjustments to our practices. So you recall, we actually met, I don't think we skipped a meeting during the pandemic, which is really good. We were in good position there. Moving forward, bylaw 2921 currently makes no mention of streaming, but does include parameters for virtual meetings to be recorded and posted during emergency situations only. Moving forward, council is aware that we have been streaming pretty well nonstop since March of 2020 using the existing camera and Zoom as a platform. Amendments to bylaw 2921 to facilitate set guidelines around streaming would include the addition of live streaming to Article 2 interpretation or definitions, and in addition to Article 4 meetings to the effect meetings live streaming, regular council meetings may be live streaming to the internet using commercially available software applications, YouTube, Zoom, etc. They may change from time to time using available township hardware. So it goes on. 418.1 would be live streaming links. Web links to the live stream feed will be provided on the township website and social media on the day of the meeting. 418.2, except in the case of an emergency as outlined in bylaw 13/2020 and in accordance with section 415 of the policy, a failure of equipment, software, connectivity issues causing the live stream to stop shall not be cause for the council meeting to also stop. Township will strive to make meetings as accessible as possible. It makes no guarantees for circumstances or technical difficulties beyond its control. These bylaw amendments are presented as draft tonight, as notice must be provided prior to the adoption, as per bylaw 35/2008, advertising, which means we have to advertise in the local paper 1 week prior to adoption. Notice, the council approves, notice will be provided on the website and social media as well. If council has no further changes, administration will bring this bylaw back at the July 4th regular meeting for final adoption. The amendments to the procedural bylaw will be effective at the following meeting, July 18th. No financial implications at this time. Option A, that council amend bylaw 29/2021, the procedure bylaw, to include a declaration of Indigenous land acknowledgement provide for live streaming of regular council meetings, and that notice be provided in accordance with bylaw 35/2008. And that following the notice period, the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for final passage at the July 4th regular meeting of council. Option B, that council does not approve the proposed amendments to the procedure bylaw, directs administration to bring forward another draft with changes, as discussed. Option C is that the council does not approve amending the procedure bylaw and direct administration otherwise. The recommendation council is recommending, administration is recommending option A.
Thank you. Any, Mike?
John, if we go ahead with this streaming of meetings, will the public still be able to ask questions during the question period?
We would continue on the same method we're using now. We'd put something into the chat saying, please type your questions into the whatever software we're using. Okay. And of course, anybody in the gallery could also ask your question period.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good call. Okay. So it's moved by Councillor Malshewski, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Resolved that council amend bylaw 29/2021, the procedural bylaw, to include a declaration of Indigenous land acknowledgement and provide for live streaming of regular council meetings. And that notice be provided in accordance with bylaw 35/2008, and that following the notice period and the appropriate bylaw be brought forward for final passage at the July 4th regular meeting of council. All those in favor? Okay. Okay, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With respect to Hydro East, request to construct Scott Avenue. On the direction of council, administration is working on this file since mid-2017. First major report to council was in July of 2017. The subsequent reports coming in November of that year and the fall of 2018. November 2019, it was decided that committee, hereafter referred to as a subcommittee, would be formed to continue discussions with ratepayers representatives from Hydro Bay. In addition to administration's time and advice from legal counsel, the township has previously engaged the expertise of Municipal Tax Advisory Group, MTAG, for their opinions on the various tax tools at the disposal of the municipality under the Municipal Act. The Hydro Bay issue has been brought to the forefront in the present due to large swings in assessment from one cycle to the next. Mechanisms to address assessment already exist in the assessment regime, RFR or ARV appeals. These mechanisms have been utilized in whole or part by some of the property owners of Hydro Bay. Township also provided support in the form of lobbying directly to MPAC when the initial assessments were released, as well as subsequent letters indifferent to the RFRs and other appeal processes. Similarly, the township did not challenge the assessments at the RFR stage or the ARB stage where applicable. In the fall of 2021, a letter was received from subcommittee by the subcommittee, excuse me, from Peace Bedoni on behalf of majority of owners at Hydro Bay East, requesting the township develop the rest of Scott Avenue as a public road as laid out in the original registered subdivision plan. Following the request, the township sent out a simple survey out to the owners asking 3 questions. 1, are you in favor of the request to develop and maintain Scott Avenue as a municipal road as opposed to the existing access to the property? 2, are you in favor of the request to develop and maintain Scott Avenue as a municipal road, even if it could potentially cause property assessments and correspondingly taxes to increase? And 3, would you be willing to contribute toward the capital cost of construction to Scott Avenue? All the properties did respond, but there was not consensus amongst the responses. Services are one of the considerations that MPAC looks at when assessing properties. Generally, access to services or more services yields higher property assessments than unserviced properties. As increased assessment is the root cause of the issues of Hydro Bay East, one of the basic premises that the township via the subcommittee established early on was that all property owners need to be in agreement with the provision of more municipal services. On May 20th of this year, the subcommittee met again and discussed the letter from Mr. Spadoni seeking the development of Scott Avenue as a public road, but also included 2 additional options. The first alternative was for the township to continue lobby access across the first property owner's property where the municipal road allowance currently terminates to provide the remaining properties with services through easement and agreements. The second alternative was for the township to construct a portion of the surveyed Scott Avenue and bypass around that first property, with access to provide services via easement and agreement on the existing private road thereafter. With respect to current discussion, with respect to the 3 options presented, the considerations are as follows. So option 1, construct Scott Avenue as laid out in the subdivision plan in its entirety. One of the basic premises of development is that it should pay for itself and that its creation should not become a burden on existing ratepayers. As a result, in ordinary course, it would have been the subdivider or developer who pays the cost of the local road with a new plan, with that cost being incorporated and ultimately recuperated by the developer through the price of the lots. There is no known subdivision agreement registered with the plan on title, laying this out. While there is a survey at Scott Avenue, the private road is acceptable at the time of the development of the subject properties. Should the ratepayers of Terrace Bay now be burdened with the costs of a road that should have been borne by the original developer and property purchasers? Option 2, lobby for access across any property owner's property who does not desire more services in order to provide municipal services to subsequent property owners as applicable. And that would be via easement or agreement. From the beginning in 2017, the township has offered to provide more services. That was actually a recommendation from that first report to the property owners at Hydro Bay East. However, as access is currently via private road, the township would need permission via easement and agreement to do so. The owners of each portion of the private road need to come to consensus on what they want and what they will allow the township to provide. As mentioned above, increasing services may lead to increased assessments, which is a concern of some of the existing property owners. Again, one of the basic premises of the township via the subcommittee established early on was that all property owners needed to be in agreement, with the provision of more municipal services. This is and remains a responsibility of the property owners to come to consensus. Option 3, township to construct a portion of the surveyed Scott Avenue as a bypass around the first property and any subsequent property not wanting services, and with access to provide services via easement agreement on the existing private road thereafter. So similar to the above responses, or the same principles would apply. Why should the municipality bear the cost of construction of a road or even a portion of the road that should have been completed by the original developer? Further, it may be the existence of the public road or portion more services will cause the assessments and hence taxes to rise, and we arrive back at the reasoning for consensus. Theoretically, the township could construct Scott Avenue as a local improvement with the cost being divided between the township and the owners. But again, the same principles of who is responsible and the township requirement of consensus amongst the owners arise. Financial implications. None at this time. Any action directed by council on exploring construction of the road will require analysis and costing by administration. Option A, that council does not approve further exploration of establishing or construction of any further portion of the municipally owned Scott Avenue at township expense. Option B, the council further explore 2 options as presented of establishing construction of the municipally owned Scott Avenue, either whole or a portion thereof at township expense. Option C, the council continue to lobby for access across the first property owner's property in order to provide municipal services to the subsequent owner's properties, via easement and or agreement. Administration is recommending option A.
Okay. So I guess the one thing I want to make clear is that you have the opportunity to ask questions, but not until question period. You don't ask them at this part. but you will have an opportunity. As for the rest of you gentlemen, do you have any comments or?
Cut and dry there, what John said.
Okay. Okay, so, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that, this issue has been ongoing for a long period of time. The contention is, from what I know of the situation, one of taxation and excessive taxation. I'm of the opinion that anything that is done to improve access there is going to have a negative, a major impact on increasing taxation. So I don't think that's what anybody wants to see. So I think the way we're planning to go now, or keep it the way it is now, is what I would be supporting.
Bert?
The deal that was made way back when the property was first obtained from KC. The cost of road access should have been in that original agreement. And it, I guess maybe it was partly, but it was to the satisfaction at the time of all of the people that purchased there. I cannot see the ratepayers of the township being on the hook for any further development of the road. So I'm in favor of option A.
And the other thing too, not just MTAG that what John mentioned, but the town had a lot of legal advice from our lawyers over the past 6 years or whatever. So, I mean, it wasn't, all the decision that the council made, we had legal advice and we went with the legal advice.
And a considerable amount of dollars when it is. You're right. Okay. So it is moved by Councillor Malachewski, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Resolved that council does not approve further exploration of establishing or construction of any further portion of the municipality-owned Scott Avenue at township expense. All those in favor? And that's carried. Item D.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So this is with respect to the sale of surplus land, lot 256 East Grove Crescent, which council is familiar with. We passed this bylaw recently for last meeting, in fact. Lot 256 on East Grove was approved for sale to B. McKay at the June 6th regular meeting with the passage of bylaw 12/2022. Following the meeting, communication was received from the purchaser. They no longer wish to go through with the purchase of the property. As a bylaw was required to execute the agreement of sale, and the sale was no longer proceeding, another bylaw is required to cancel the sale and rescind the previous bylaw. Additionally, given the expenses that were incurred, administration is currently in the process of updating bylaw 33/2007, being a bylaw to establish procedures for the sale of real property. Besides modernization of this policy, which is required under section 270 of the Act, the intent would be to require deposits upfront or similar practice or protection for the township prior to entertaining any future unsolicited offers that would see the township, at least see any township expenses covered. Administration also recommends listing this property M329 lot 56 with Wendy Christia of Remax Generations Realty, and a report will be brought forward to that effect at one of the next coming weeks. Financial limitations, legal fees unknown at this time, but not anticipated to be significant, were incurred, which would have been offset against the purchase price. The $12,000 in revenue was not included in the 2022 budget and is no longer considered receivable. So option A, that council authorized cancellation, of the sale of plan M329 lot 256 East Grove Crescent and rescinding of bylaw 12/2022, and the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Option B, that council does not authorize the rescinding of bylaw 12/22 and directs administration otherwise. Administration is recommending option A.
pretty self-explanatory, really too bad that this fell through, but. So it's moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Malchewski. Resolve the council authorize the council cancellation of the sale of Plan M329, Lot 256, East Grove Crescent, and rescinding of bylaw 12/2022, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Those in favor? Okay. Next, any more delegations?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the delegation summary of the last roughly this term of council is provided there. So delegations are actually due on the 24th. So I'll be entering the ones we have. We have NPO there to discuss the higher rest stop development. Seniors and accessibility support for seniors in the community. Heritage, sport, tourism, culture for grant funding for the tourism study. And health and long-term care. Council Moore actually brought this one forward. So expansion or extension of senior snow removal program to possibly include property maintenance. That's the ministry we figure is responsible for it through the hospital, which is where we get those dollars coming from senior snow. So that was another one added. So before.
And we have them all. Do you have appointments or
No,
No.
we're flying for 4.
you're flying for 4?
We won't hear probably till the end of July, beginning of August, especially given that there was an election this year. So cabinet is only being named this Friday, if I'm not mistaken, and they'll need some time to get their departments in orders.
Okay. Anybody have anything to add to? We're all good. Okay, all good. Okay, item F, candidates information.
But just a reminder to all council and prospective candidates that there is an information session tomorrow night, Tuesday, June 21st, from 6:30 to 8:30 in this room. There was a requirement for registration, but now we've achieved our 10. We have 10 registrants already, so anybody can actually come. That's why I put it on the agenda tonight, so it's public. There is no charge for the session. It's being hosted in partnership with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. And we'll provide attendees with information on such topics as roles and responsibility of elected officials and staff, eligibility rules, nomination process, campaign finances, compliance audit committees, and compliance audit for candidates, voters lists and voting proxies, scrutineers, and recounts. So the session will basically be a presentation by Municipal Affairs, followed by a Q&A period. And just mine and Nathan's contacts are there. If anybody wants to come, they can contact us and let us know they're coming. But again, we have our 10, so it'll just be the capacity of the room.
Okay. Well, it would be nice to see more people registered. It would really be nice to have an election instead of an acclamation. So let's hope we still have some time yet, so we're okay, I hope. Okay. So our next one is finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, the 2022 capital operating summary as well as a newly created operating expense report. So as of June 16, 2022, the financial reports have been forward. Township has incurred $74,894 in capital versus the budgeted amount of $811,672. This amount is made up of payments on the trackless, special events tents, work on the broadband project, expense on the TVT engineering office study, and building lighting. Cenotaph signage project is expected to be $10,000 under budget due to grant funding received after budget was passed. It's expected to be completed by August 1st. Brine pump project has been quoted at $60,000, which is just under budget and will be completed prior to October 1st. All the Marion quotes are currently being worked on, and the water treatment plant roof repairs are expected to go to tender in July. We do expect them to be high due to market conditions. As for operating, we recognize exactly half of our budgeted revenues so far. As far as expenses go, we spent 2.6 of the $6.9 million budget. Items to note so far is we received a $20,000 windfall from WSIB surplus. Heating oil is trending to be roughly $40,000 over budget, depending on requirements in the fourth quarter. The airport has seen significant increase in revenue due to local operational requirements for fuel.
Current net impact on the levy is negligible until we do sell the remaining inventory. Diesel fuel, clear and dyed, are currently 90% of budget due to first quarter snow removal and current rack pricing. On average, the municipality is paying 25 cents a liter more than we budgeted. Finally, the hall rental revenue is already exceeding budget by $2,000 due to the vaccination clinics so far this year. Overall, we do not see any other significant issues or opportunities at this time. The council has not been made aware of.
Excellent. Any questions for Dan? So it's moved by Councillor Malchusky, seconded by Councillor Johnson, resolved that council accept the 2022 variant report as presented. All those in favor? Okay, community development supervisor.
Thank you. Following up with council's request to identify why the ski hill had a lack of water this year. There is no existing in-ground infrastructure that supplies the ski hill. Previously, the water was supplied through a submersible well pump. Prior to the pandemic, the well pump failed. It tried to be removed from the well, but it won't be removed. We're unsure why that is. I'm told that Mr. Shermack attempted several different methods to remove it and couldn't find a resolution. And that's why there is no water at the ski hill for this year.
So basically you're saying the well is no good and touch anymore?
That's my current understanding is that Paul said it would be major surgery to figure out what the problem was, how to get that pump out. And it doesn't seem to be an easily solvable issue.
Just one thing, if we have, the issues we're working out down at the beach house with the wells, we could have that company potentially look at it. There might be a cost to it, but it might be worth them looking at it. Someone who knows what they're doing in terms of dealing with wells. No doubt on Paul's skill set for sure. Just have one more look at it before we completely write it off, as wells are extremely expensive to drill and bring into operation. So.
Okay, yeah, that might not be a bad idea because either option, it wouldn't be cheap. We'd either have to go back and find a water line to tie into or drill a new well if we give up on this one. So I don't know about the rest of you. I think I'd kind of like to get an opinion from them if they're ever in town.
Anyway, if any new information comes forward, we'll bring it forward to council at that time. Okay. So we'll try and work with our.
Right.
Just some information. I've spoken with the ski hill with Paul and he is happy with the way we're filling the water with the fire truck. And he's not concerned about getting running water there. If we could, obviously it'd be great, but everything's working fine.
Okay, well, let's just proceed with like, if the well guys are in town, we'll get them to have a quick look, see what down and dirty, what we're looking at. And then if we may have to continue with a fire truck for now until we decide what to do. Waterfront Development Committee, Mr. Frogger.
Thank you for letting me present the summation on behalf of the Waterfront Development Project. I'm pretty sure most of you probably got my summation report, right? So I'm not reading through the entire report. I'm assuming you've read through it. So I'd like to address 5 key areas. Number one, I would like to recognize the following who helped with the input for the summary. It would be Luke, Dean, committee, and members of the public at large. Number 2, again, back to the goal with waterfront summation recommendations. With regard to the goal, it was to promote Terrace Bay as a place to live and to visit. So that was one of the major reasons why this waterfront development project went ahead. The next area that I would like to work for, number 3, would be, I'm not going to go into the project accomplishments because it's listed there. I think you guys have seen it. With regards to recommendations, I think our committee would like to see it keep going. I know there's an end to it, and maybe with new council in the fall, I believe that the waterfront committee, or sorry, the waterfront committee should carry on, because there is a possibility of other projects to move forward with. And it's not only ones that are at cost, but there are probably some of these things that are on the list with regards to future project possibilities that probably are at no cost or minimum cost to council itself. So what I did when you're looking at the future project possibilities, I sort of circled some of the ones that I don't think are at a higher cost. That would be, for example, gazebo, completion of the kayak storage units, the food truck at the beach during the summer. The idea with launching fees, this again, the committee could work with the boating association and with council and whatever to see where we go with the launching fees, because that was brought up years ago. We've already met with regards to that. Hiking trail signage to the red chair and trail improvement. The agreement with Parks Canada and providing programming. So as you can go through on the list on and on, you'll see that there are several of the things down there that probably don't require costing or much costing at all. And I know some of them were discussed. Some will require development or further investigations. And that would be, for example, paving the parking lot, leaf sculpture, extending the boardwalk to the original design, pathway from the original design from Mahogany to beach, improve on floral and tree restoration. I'm marketing and art and recreational possibilities. So I guess the idea here is that there should be a continuation with it. We know that due to certain circumstances and that the over $3 million that were designed for the project, not all of it was used, right? So we did lose a lot out of it, and whether it's related to COVID or financial restraints or with regards to differences in costing. So there's certain things that were cut out from the project itself. The fourth thing to be addressed is programming, I guess, and then the deficiencies with regards to the project itself. And there are certain of the deficiencies that were listed there that have been rectified, I believe. And the ones that haven't, I'm pretty sure Luke can probably address that with you. With regards to the steps that you see there anyways, the future project, that was more so that Dean and I sat together that it's more for Luke in terms of what he could use this with regards to future projects anyways. But anyways, just a comment with regards to next steps. The idea of the design and build. Okay, so that's been going on when we worked with the downtown revitalization project and with the waterfront project. When we worked on those two, what we did is, after terms of reference, we hired somebody to design the project. And then after that was, we sat down and then we looked at contractors or whatever it is that was actually going to build the project. So there was two different costs involved with that. The other option is, what you can do to save costing is go design and build. So in the future, if there's a major project there, recommendation is go to design and build. So you would hire an individual there that could actually do the designing and the building altogether, therefore saving some of the cost. So that would be one of the recommendations anyway. It could alleviate some of the costing itself. Finally, I guess the idea is, are we interested in giving the proper name to the beachfront pavilion or to the pavilion downtown? So whether or not this council or future council wants to look at it, or if there's a future committee, if you want to pass it on to the future committee to give the beachfront property a name, or the pavilion itself. That's it. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it was a long 10-year project, and most of you are probably aware of it. That started, was it? Remember right? I know I got the minutes of the first meeting here anyway, but it was on December 5th, 2012 or something like that. Yeah, so it's a long 10 years anyways. I mean, there was the original project involved the golf course itself with the housing development project and the marina. off the bay off number 9. That sort of fell through because of the costing. It was over $50 million to build a marina. And then we went into a phase 2 back in 2017, I believe it is. And then from that, we got the project we have to do. In my books, I thought it was successful. We had a lot of positive feedback. The boardwalk has been used well. And I'm pretty sure in the future, it will be used well. And it's already going to start because we're going to have our Kennedy celebration there this year, and our 75th anniversary will take place down at the beach too. So bravo and thank you to all those that participated. And I would like to thank the committee on behalf of myself.
Thank you, Horst. The waterfront was a really, I think, successful project. 10 years is too long, I agree with you, but it morphed into from what we envisioned to what it is now, and I think we actually have a very good final project. My opinion is that the work there will never end unless we decide on what we want to end. There will always be something that we're always going to want to look at improving or doing or whatever, future councils, whoever may be at the table, right? So I don't think it's going to look like it does now in 5 or 10 years. I think there will be more enhancements. I hope anyway.
And I think you might probably agree with me. It's probably been, this is our 4th attempt at it. Remember, right? Because Live Bay was in there years ago. Remember in previous game with Dr. Wilson, whatever it is, like this has been a long go.
Yeah.
It's not just 10 years, it's probably more like 30 years, right?
Anybody else? Mike?
Just a couple of comments. First of all, congratulations to the committee on the work that they did. We certainly have an excellent facility down there. So thank you to Chair Brager and the committee that worked very hard over the many years to get that project done. A couple of concerns I have are feature around the red chair. And we got John probably can answer these questions more than Horst. The insurance on that area is borne by the town, so liability, or is that borne by Parks Canada?
I can check.
The Voyager Trail Association provides an insurance to the Casco.
Okay.
Or association with the Casco.
And the enhancements, or I'm assuming that you're talking here about enhancements to accessing the red chair, because that
Correct.
is a major area of concern. I know of a number of incidents that have occurred there that we don't want to see anybody hurt, but I can appreciate Parks Canada wanting people to get a feel for hiking that particular area of the North Shore. So I think, well, keeping it difficult, but I think let's keep it safe as well. So I would ask that the committee and future councils keep in mind that there may be some additional expenditures there to improve the safety factor.
Yeah, I think there was, Mike, there was also the discussion with regards to the trail that leads up to the
Gordy?
no, not the board up here, the lookout,
Look,
right? The lookout. If there's something like that that could be done with the boardwalk or wood steps or whatever it is, I know there's one difficult, challenging area to lead up there, that little cliff there. So I know the Cascade Hiking Trail had rated the trails. It's all marked with regards to risk, right? So that somewhat is covered, but I think I'm pretty sure most of you probably agree that there can be improvements made on that trail itself.
Mr. Chair, I could be wrong. I believe there was a communication from Mr. Brudsky on that subject a while back saying that they would look to make some improvements to the trail over time with funding from their own organization as well from the township. It would be it's almost a phased process where they would work on one part, work on the really dangerous parts at one time and then continue on from there. It'd be nice if we could have a full boardwalk out there. I don't know if that's going to happen, but just given the terrain, given the expense, but.
Okay. Well, okay. Moved by Councilor Johnson, seconded by Councilor Malashewski. Resolved that council accept the Waterfront Development Committee report as presented. All those in favor? Thank you, Mr. Broder. Okay, communications. What is this? The watch? The surfers. The surfers, they're asking for a donation. What do you got for us, John?
So there is a letter there from Mr. Dubay to council, myself and Luke, with respect to the Sashka gathering in the Great Lakes Surfers coming up this year in October. I believe there is a listed item there, or a list of items there, sorry, that they would like the township to consider donating. The use of the main beach pavilion, October 14th for setup, October 15th for the event, and October 16th for cleanup, same as what they had last year. Free camping at the main beach, same as what they had last year. Use of the township speaker and microphone, 4 plastic tables, 8 chairs, 6 garbage cans. Keep the docks in the river until the event is over. So there are times a year we may have docks already out, so that would be, council would have to consider that. Use of the pavilion meeting room from October 14th to 16th for storage, band prep area, etc., and keep the volleyball nets up as well later in the season. So there is a there's some more to Chris's letter, obviously, but there is a resolution before council tonight with respect to that item.
So this is basically the same ask as last year, right? For what I think was a pretty successful event, other than they didn't get the waves they were looking for. Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Moore. Resolved that council approve the request for donation from the Wasaka Gathering Surfers Group for the event in October, including the use of the main beach pavilion from October 14th for setup, October 15th for the event, October 16th for cleanup, free camping at the main beach, use of township speaker and microphone, 4 plastic tables, 8 chairs, 6 garbage cans, keep the docks in the river until the event is over, use of the pavilion meeting room from October 14th to 16th for storage, band prep area, etc., and keep the volleyball nets up. Any questions or concerns, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? I think this is a very big necessary. And Terrace Bay Community Church.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is a letter there from Kathleen Otwell, who is acting on behalf of the official board and trustees of Terrace Bay Community Church. So we've been in discussions with them as administration, and they have, I believe, had one delegation to council or a discussion at council with respect to the transfer of the building and properties of the Terrace Bay Community Church to the township of Terrace Bay. So they're in the process right now of donating all its assets to other eligible charities and will notify user groups of the upcoming transfer of said building and property. So understanding that we being the township, has no immediate plans for the property, we will advise the township as soon as the process is complete. So the board and the board trustees of the Terrace Bay Community Church understand that once this transfer has been made, they no longer will be allowed to use this space as a place of worship. So thank you, and again, they'll be in touch. So there is a resolution with respect to this item, directing administration to continue on with negotiations with the board as they wind down operations and to transfer the property to the township, which will require a report and a bylaw.
So moved by Councillor Malashewski, seconded by Councillor Bert Johnson. Resolve the council direct the CAO clerk to continue to work with the officials of the Terrace Bay Community Church in having the township assume the church property, and that a report and bylaw be brought back to a future meeting of council as appropriate. Those in favor? What do we have now?
We've been here 15 years, right?
Oh, yes.
Here. I helped them more to ask to be brought forward the topics of the discussion. We haven't had a discussion on it yet. Typically, what happens is council comes up with a list, then we go into camera to discuss it. We won't be doing that tonight, but it's giving basically council fair warning that we do need to get the senior leader focus going. So, Councillor Moore has any other comment?
No, just that we've done it every year since I've been on council, and I think probably before that, and I think it's an event that we should still continue to recognize the senior of the year, so that it would be appropriate that if council agrees to seek candidates to be nominated from the public for senior of the year, that appropriate names be brought back to council for consideration at a later date. It would be nice to have this completed so that when we have the 75th on the waterfront, we can make the announcement down there as well, but open to suggestions.
Mike, there was an old list too. Are you gonna include that?
Yes, we usually had previous candidates that weren't successful reviewed, and I think it was a 3-year holding period that we had on that. I'm not sure, but I believe there's about 3 or 4 names that are still on that list that could be brought forward along with any new submissions that we get.
So if we're gonna have this by the 75th, we're gonna have to pick a name pretty quick because it takes time to get the governance stuff done, right?
Jen, maybe you can comment on this.
Yeah, I'll get on it.
The,
I can do up posters right away.
Okay, because I know it takes a while, right, to get the plaques or whatever.
we could present with the plaque coming later, but
Okay.
so there is a possibility. Obviously, it'd be nice to have everything all at once. We'll strive for that, but obviously, again, the government being in transition right now, it's hard to say what down to what level programs are sort of suspended at. So this might be one of them.
Yeah. So maybe if we try to get names for next meeting, you know.
I know that last year during COVID, we did the presentation to the successful candidate who was Ruth Mitchell. She was library board chair, and as council rep on the board, I was able to present her with her award. And it was a gift of a pen, so I think that there was no plaque involved at that time, but there may be one that was ordered later. So I think we can make the announcement if the plaque isn't available, we can wait it until we get the plaque.
Okay.
Thank you.
What do we got now? Bylaws?
Yeah.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Moore. Resolved that council rescind bylaw 12/2022, being a bylaw to authorize an agreement with the corporation of the township of Terrace Bay and B. McKay for the purchase of property lot 256, plan M329 on East Grove Crescent, Terrace Bay. Be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered this 20th day of June 2022. All those in favor? And moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Resolve that being a bylaw to authorize delegated authority during the lame duck period during the 2022 municipal election be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered this 20th day of June 2022. All those in favor? Okay, other business or any resolutions or anything? The most anticipated time of the evening, question period. We'll open it up to the floor. Pat?
Obviously, you passed the CAO's recommendation off today. Obviously, not in our favor, what we wanted, but it states did not approve further exploration, establishing or constructing any further portion of the municipally owned Broad Avenue township expense. So I also, in many letters and all through the subcommittee, did say we'd like the opportunity to explore the costing of developing the unfinished Broad Avenue, the last half of it, either wholly or partially. That has been in writing to you, and we have talked about it subcommittees, and it just never made it in here as a thing. So is that still, is it available? Are we able to do that?
You know what? There's nothing stopping you, I would imagine, from exploring any opportunities you want.
When I
What
say
I think what we need though is we're at the point right now that unless something comes back to us that totally changes the scope of this, we've already decided how we feel about it. Now, that doesn't mean anything is in stone. I mean, you could show up with an offer or a proposal that might intrigue council. I don't know who, what it would be, but you guys could, and maybe we would consider revisiting something, but right now, I think we've sunk an awful lot of money in this. We've done a lot of research with lawyers, and our lawyers are telling us that this isn't just, this is it.
Okay,
That's I mean, anybody else want to?
but the recommendation was, council not to, at township expense.
Yeah,
And we
Correct.
did talk overall that we would be willing, auditors would be willing to look at it. And because it is a registered, approved public road that have never been finished. And all we would like is the opportunity to cost it. And then if it works out and we're able to do it, that you would pass it and let it develop.
Just to be clear, you're talking about developing the surveyed portion, not the portion of the existing private. You're not doing anything else to the private now, right?
No, it's a surveyed public access road that's in the subdivision that was approved and registered in January the 3rd, 1978. Town. That's what we're looking at. We're not looking at the private.
there again, I mean, I don't see how we can stop you from investing.
Well, none of it even stopped.
You know,
That
or-
it is a road that you guys, the township did approve. And now all of a sudden it's a bad thing. I don't understand that. I'd like the opportunity to go ahead and do that. Obviously, we would need someone from the town like Ryan or someone to show us the surveyed portions of where they are. And then we would go ahead and and do that. As you know, part of the problem is that that's why subdivisions have public access roads, so there is no problem. And we have a problem where we don't agree on things. And that's, we're trying to not bother anybody, not step on anybody's toes. We just want to have access within the town, continue doing what they were doing on the first part. That's why I'm here in the question period asking that.
So I understand, you want to look at costing a road at the cottager's expense,
And the town to maintain it.
and you want to turn it into a public road? Or do you
It
want
is
to,
public road.
or do you want, okay, so I'll rephrase that then, you want to keep it public or you want to turn it private? That's all I'm asking, is the goal here for it to be a private road when you're done that only to, or is the goal for it to be a municipal road?
There is a registered, approved public road on books for the Highview Bay subdivision. We want that to become a life. It's died. So we're looking at spending our money to finish the development, either wholly or partially. And it's the public municipal road we're talking. We're not talking anything else.
So to be clear, it's not a public road. It's a surveyed road. For it to be a public road, it would have to be adopted by bylaw by the town.
All right, okay, it's a surveyed
Just-
road.
Just a technicality. I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
okay. It's a survey road, which is meant to be a public road in the subdivision there.
Okay. I'm sure you could investigate.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
I
know.
mean, you'd have to bring it to us at the end and basically ask us to, or whatever, but I believe anyway, right, George? But certainly if you want to do some investigating, we can't stop that, or we wouldn't want to stop that. I would allow you to.
Well, I wouldn't think so because it is part of your plan.
Yeah. So, yeah, for that, I would think, yeah, if you want to investigate it, then
I don't have an issue with investigating the road itself. My concern comes back to the taxation issue. This has been at the root of the problem all along down there, is that the taxes are high and that anything that gets done down there in terms of improvements is only going to increase taxes. And as I understand it, there are a number of taxpayers down there that are finding it difficult enough now to maintain their properties without looking at seeing a higher tax bill. So that's the concern I have in terms of going forward and making the necessary improvements to the roadway down there.
Okay, I'd love to answer that.
Go ahead, I'm done.
From what you're saying, it's completely false. Is that there's 5 of us that doesn't have the public, the existing public road. That the town service, they serve it to hit meet the property line to the other 5 of them have. Is that we have, all 5 of us have unanimously agreed that it's not a problem. The taxation, the worry of taxation isn't a problem in developing it and putting it in. That is not a problem.
Mike, we have 2 letters. Your assumption is the assessment's going to be increased. We have 2 letters from NPAC, one from the former director of NPAC and a second one from the current director of NPAC, which I think he's still the current one, I can't say, saying that their assessment increases are primarily based on sales. Now, they also said in that letter that because we didn't have a public road, that we received a 6% discount on our assessment. Now, if all of a sudden we have, let's say, a public road that's plowed by the town, we may, and they did use the word may, we may lose that 6% discount that we get. That 6% discount based on a property that's valued at $200,000 is $340 in town taxes. We can't plow and maintain that road for $340 a year. So when you say, well, there's an increase in assessment, it's a minor amount, but for that, that possible $340, we're going to have a plowed, maintained road. That's what we wanted in the first place. We don't want street lights and that. So this assumption that, oh, your taxes, that's assumed. You don't know that. And like I said, I can provide you with the 2 letters from NPAC that talk about the emphasis on sales.
Okay, could I finish now? You shouldn't have interrupted your. It's that all through this slant, I did put in here the slant. I find there's some slants, and it keeps coming up is that we're going to have higher taxes, and it's a concern of yours. It shouldn't be a concern. It's not a concern of ours. Is that we don't, of the 5 of us, we don't believe it, and there's about 5 things I can go through to you, but I don't think it's time for that. You guys wouldn't want it. But there's at least 5 things I can go through that backs that up. And I would love to do that individually or sometime with you, because there seems to be in this council and thing, that seems to be an overhanging thing that just keeps coming up. And to me, it almost seems like it's just an excuse in order to say no. That's what I feel it is. Because we don't have that concern. Anyway, you've answered my question.
I appreciate your input and particularly Barb, the comments that you made. I appreciate your comments and I'll take them into consideration. The only concern I would express to you at this point in time is that by the time you come back with the work that you've done, unfortunately, I won't be sitting at the table.
That's a shame.
So I guess to clarify, yeah, if you want to go ahead and cost out a road, keeping in mind, you're still going to have to come back and talk to us or whoever's sitting here when that time comes. And then we'll discuss it, I guess. But yeah, that's about all we can do for you. You know, just a little sidebar ad for MPAC. If any one of you in this room can tell me how they work, I would love to know. Because I can't tell you how they work. I don't know them. I've sat in meetings and who knows? Their methodology is a secret to me. But, okay. So, does anybody else want, sorry?
Two questions, based on the conversations that I've heard. Mike, I couldn't hear what you were saying. The gentleman on the far end, I could hear him a little bit. But Rick, the question I have, you've been lawyered up since 2017. How much in legal fees has the township paid related to this file?
I don't have that exact number, but it's not a secret. We can be giving out, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, positive.
Okay,
But it's substantial. And then if we add in our staff resource time. So that, like, this was expensive. Very expensive. I mean, we did the committee, we formed it, we looked at, I think, I wasn't on the committee myself, but I think we looked at every option we could to try to come up with something. And then basically this is where we're sitting at today.
so you've been lawyered up since 2017. That's demonstrated possible culpability on the township behalf. That Scott Avenue, registered in the township of Terrace Bay, certified in the province of Ontario. And I just want to know, does it reflect the layout of Scott Avenue? The reality,
I don't understand the question.
the question is Scott Avenue the way it is depicted in the official plan, in the official representation?
In subdivision survey? No, it's not.
Okay.
To my knowledge, right now, I'd have to go out there with a surveyor to actually verify what set and do and don't, but
So is it legal to knowingly have a certified and registered plan in the province of Ontario that is at best inaccurate, at worst, blatant misrepresentation of reality? And it's been going on for 30 years.
I wasn't here at the time. Couldn't tell you. I'm not aware, so I'm not going to try and answer that question.
Can your legal people answer it?
I'm sure they were asked that.
I know you've been told by your legal people not to say anything, but the reality is you've been sitting on this file for 5 years now. And we're no further ahead other than we're going to pay at our own expense. I bought this property in 2019 and full disclosure, I use it for 3 months of the year. I don't care if I have snow plowing in the winter. I don't care if I have services. I'm good with the way it is. But the reality is that there's a blatant misrepresentation in an official plan in the province of Ontario of an official road that's supposed to be public, and no one's doing anything about it. I bought it electronically with all the documents that are available online based on a survey that's supposed to be reality because it's certified, and that's not the case. Someone knows about it, all of you know about it, but nothing's been done. And is that legal?
Development pays for development. The developer was supposed to construct the road.
Okay,
So that does matter. History does matter.
okay, you're right, you're right. Development does pay for it, but you guys signed off on the official
So
plan.
it's not these guys sitting on the
Okay,
table.
well, but you're responsible for what went on regardless.
Okay,
You've got
so,
to make it right.
okay, we still have the ability to accept that road into the township road plan or not via bylaw, which was never done. So it's, you're
So
asking us to write a law.
Is it an official road or is it not?
I'm not gonna, it's not my job. It's you guys.
I'm sorry to make you uncomfortable, but
It's not a matter of uncomfortability. It's just, it isn't my role. They should be the ones talking about it. So I apologize for speaking out of turn.
Is it an official road? I don't know.
is it registered in the province of Ontario?
The plan of subdivision is a
Plan of
registered plan of subdivision for the chair.
Is the road registered as part of that subdivision?
I couldn't tell you.
I think so.
I would imagine.
So for the buyer, he looks at this official plan, everything's done electronically now. If he's supposed to take that in good faith, that, well, it's certified in the province of Ontario.
I don't know what to tell you on that one. You know what? I don't know. Honestly, this is something that went on when, Kenny, you're probably one of the only ones here and let Regina, when was the land sold?
It was in, some of the campers there leased their properties off of Kimberly Clark originally. And then a couple of individuals, my father being one of them, got together with another owner and approached the mill, KC, to find out what the potential was to purchase the lots rather than rent. And that's when the subdivision was born, I would say. Exactly what timing that was, I can't say for sure what year, but in the mid 70s when that rental process started and then evolved into what we know is documented on this plan subdivision. Is registered 1978, right?
January the 3rd, 1978.
Yeah, so
We're looking at something that happened in 1978. And you know what? I wish I could tell you why it was never done right. But
I can tell you
with a
this,
full road, but
the original property owners down there, the original purchasers of the lots, when they were sold off initially by Kimberly Clark to the owners, not the town. The town didn't sell any property to anybody down there. The agreement amongst the owners during discussions was to, if possible, just use the access road the way it was. For the main advantage of keeping it not a public access. And the campers at the time all decided, well, we'll look after the road, and that's how it started.
I don't really have, I don't have much else I can say about it. I don't know why it ended up this way. Obviously, I mean, developers were supposed to put roads in and it wasn't done. I don't know why.
One comment I can make is as far as being someone thinking that it was not done legally. My question would be, how could it be approved by Kimberly Clark, a huge corporation, accepted by the township and registered by the province if it was not legal?
But never fulfilled or executed.
If it's not completed, then, and it's not legal, then it wouldn't have been registered, would be my thought. But I'm no expert either, and
The plan was never executed. That's fact.
I think our lawyer could probably answer that, John.
No, you may as well spend another 10,000.
Oh, I don't know what we spend, but considerable amount. Not gonna solve it here tonight.
This won't get solved tonight. So I think that's about all we can do with it tonight.
That road was built by the Land and Forest because they have the fishermen that have eat that. And that road was used by the fishermen and the ministry have built where Hamilton camp was. So now it's Ryan Lake. They had a dock there that they would supervise the fishing. That's for how that road got built.
Private road.
Well, they just built the road.
Okay, well, I
But I
think,
can't tell you what year it was built because I wasn't here then.
I think we just have to move on for tonight anyway on this one. So. We have to go in camera now, so. Thank you.
Oh,
I just add that report again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, take care.
It's not even Front Street.
Oh,
Hang on, wait, can't run away. Okay.
Close the door yet. Make sure it passes.
Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Moore, resolved that Council Keating Cameron, in order to address the matter pertaining to minutes of the regular council meeting closed session on June 6, 2022. One matter with respect to a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, read Terrace Bay landfill. And two matters with respect to proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by a municipality or local board. Number one, commercial property proposal. Number two, lot 256 cancellation sale. All those in favor? And we're going to go.